Michaela Kirshner.
Hey, Michaela Kirshner as well.
Michaela
On deck.
Worth a dime when they don't have people there. It's poor arrangement. Should have had it at the solid or something.
The medical doctor said
Heather,
we couldn't do it.
You can come on up.
The medical doctor.
We're standing up.
For the county said we couldn't.
Do you want me to wait for everybody to come in?
No, we're social distancing.
Wait, one at a time? I'm sorry, about 14 people are coming. Okay,
You've got, we're gonna set a timer for 3 minutes,
okay.
okay? And we are zooming, so you are also able to be seen from the website,
Okay,
all right?
all right, go ahead and start.
I'm gonna tell you one more thing. You understand, no matter what you say, we can't act on it as a council.
Mhm.
We can hear what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and start. You'll start your time.
First, I just want to say that, thank you to the Rawls for this gift that you are giving to the city. It's very much appreciated. But just because people are asking questions and have concerns, it doesn't mean we don't appreciate it. My concern is this started off as a gift back in 2019. It was supposed to be completed and given to the city. March 2020, a contract was signed between the city and the Rawls and attorneys, which we don't even know what that consists of. We still don't. And then there was some mention that if Mr. Rawls didn't approve of what was done, he wouldn't pay. Is that true or not? That's all hearsay from what I've heard. Is that right? Okay, sorry. Also, with the EDC, that $750,000 can be used for a lot of things in this town. You can have a splash pad, especially since the pool's closed this summer. You can improve more stuff down by the Coliseum, like the 55 Plus Club, different things like that. Improve our parks so our kids have somewhere to go and play. A track around the park, make it nicer so you can push strollers, and the list goes on. And looking at the layout, it looks like we're looking at 2 basketball courts, a rock wall, and some meeting rooms, and we don't even know what's going to be on the second floor. To me, that seems, do we really need all that for the $750,000? I don't know, because we have basketball courts, we have multi-purpose rooms. Frank Phillips graciously donates that to people who need to go in and have meetings. It just seems that there's not a lot of transparency what's been going on with this. It starts off at one, it turns to a contract. Not everybody knows what's in said contract, what the terms are, anything like that. And I think if there was a little bit more transparency with the public, it might ease some of our concerns and answer our questions to where, we might be like, heck yes, this is exactly what we need, or stay in the position where we're at, where some of us do have reservations in regards to said rec center and the EDC monies. So that's basically what it is. And like I said, we really do appreciate it as a gift. It just hasn't stayed that way. It's turning into a city burden that now we have to fund, wait for reimbursement. Now we're trying to take another almost $1 million that could be used for something else when we already have this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Michaela? And on deck is Carl Woods is on deck. Okay, Michaela, you heard what we said. You can't answer or do, but we can listen to what your concerns are.
Yes, sir.
And he'll set a timer for 3 minutes.
First of all, I would like to thank all of you on City Council for y'all donate a lot of time for this community, and it's very much appreciated. Second, I would like to thank the Rawls for their continued generosity in our community. Overall, I think the rec center would be good for the community, but again, I'm with the person before me that I'm not convinced that the $750,000 that you did vote no for was the right. I agree with your decision there, because I think several things need to be considered. why are we building things we already have access to, like basketball courts? We have a abundance of basketball courts. And I was at a meeting where DYB actually stood up and said, we don't need any courts. And why are we also competing with other businesses? There's a lot of places to have meetings. You can rent places, like she said, Frank Phillips has places. And then also, how much is the rec center gonna cost after it's built? It will need to be staffed, maintenance costs, cleaning costs, utilities. Will there be more donations to keep it running? Will y'all have to charge a daily rate or a membership for people to go in? Or will y'all have to raise my property taxes? And then how are you gonna pay for I've been at a few meetings, there's the second stage with an indoor soccer field. How is that gonna be funded? Will there be more donations or will they have to raise my property taxes? I feel as a community member that I have not been given enough information to be in favor or against this $750,000.
Thank you very much. Carl?
Harold Myers.
No, come on up. We're getting the next one ready, Mr. Wood.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be quick here. I was very disappointed when I found that the council turned down this $750,000. I wrote a letter to the editor, but I'm not going to read my letter to the editor. I'm going to look at Kevin Cadell's. Kevin Cadell said Dalhart is fortunate also to have an economic development corporation whose job is to oversee and distribute funds collected through sales taxes for the purpose stated by the state guidelines for promoting economic growth in the community. The EDC is constantly looking for qualified ways to spend the funds that it has. It says up here, Kevin Cadell, former mayor, the Economic Development Board recommendation to the City Council that the EDC fund the overage of up to $750,000. There is more than adequate funding. Some $2 million is available for the EDC and can easily cover the $75,000. Former Mayor Cadell writes, at the City Council meeting and the June 9th meeting, the council voted to decline the funding request for $750,000. By doing so, the entire project is in jeopardy. It seems to me that when you come to a City Council meeting and there's 40 or 50 people waiting to talk, it's a hot button issue. We're getting the first $5 million free thanks to the generosity of Jean and Louise. What a wonderful gift. So I would never want my lifelong legacy to be that I voted to kill the Dalhart Recreation Center. In my opinion, and I apologize if I am offending anybody, that is a wonderful gift, and the $750,000 is not property tax money. It actually is money that is not controlled by the City Council. It is legally okay for the Economic Development Corporation to give the money to the fund, to the recreation center. There's no conflict of interest. There's no problems. Nobody's being hurt or injured. It's actually benefiting the city. And I hope that you will re-vote on this and that everyone will look at the glorious benefits the city's going to receive from all of this. And I thank you for listening. I'm going to go and let someone else speak.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. Harold Myers? On basis.
Coach Thomas.
First off, I want to applaud the City Council for their vote a couple of weeks ago. It took courage to do what you did. I appreciate that. Next thing, I guess one thing I wanted to know was if this project goes forward, if the city builds it and the city does not pay sales tax? on anything that's being built, city will not pay sales tax. That's the exact tax that funds the city and funds the EDC. And we're doing it tax-free? That just doesn't seem to make much sense to me. I don't understand how that can happen. If I have to build something, I pay sales tax on it. I don't agree with that. I think the project is fine if you want to do it, but if the budget is 5 million, then maybe it's time to redo your budget and build a smaller facility so it fits in. Why put the extra money on everybody else? So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. We appreciate your input. Curtis Thomas. Curtis, you know those.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of y'all and speak this evening. First and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for the vote that you made last week to deny the EDC funding. I know that it wasn't an easy vote. I know it wasn't a popular vote, and I know it has come with great controversy from both sides, and I applaud you for taking a stand one way or the other, and I appreciate what you've done. I am not in favor of any municipal funds funding this building. The decision you made to turn that down, again, I think was correct. I have serious issues with allocating money to this facility out of a fund that is generated by sales tax revenue when it's going to be built in a manner that will not generate any sales tax. And my understanding is that the city will foot the bill and the city will be reimbursed, which means that no sales tax will be generated whatsoever off of the building materials that go into it. If we're going to use money from the city that was generated by sales tax, I think it would be wise and it would be prudent to make sure that sales tax is charged on this project. It's my opinion. Again, I appreciate the efforts. I applaud you for what you're doing. Thank you for your service.
Curtis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greg?
Sure. For Ferguson.
Mayor, council persons, thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you today. I guess I can take this off while I'm speaking. If you've ever built a house or a large scale project, I'll bet you ended up costing 10 or 15% more than you anticipated. This is the case with the estimated cost of the new recreation center that Gene and Louise Rawl have offered to fund with a very generous donation of $5 million. It's been estimated the cost will more likely run around $750,000. Gene and I have requested the EDC help fund the amount above $5 million, which would be funded from sales tax, which the EDC receives each quarter. I do not have proof, but I would guess that almost 50% of the sales taxes we receive are paid by people traveling through Dalhart, non-Dalhart residents, such as dairy workers that come to town each payday, and people that live outside the city limits of Dalhart who come to Dalhart to buy their needs. Furniture Fashions indicates that a great deal of their business comes from Textile and Clayton, farmers and ranchers from the rural areas. Some people are saying that it's not a gift if the EDC is asked to help fund up to 13% of the total cost. If the bids come in as has been estimated, I personally think that the $5 million is a tremendous gift, and asking the city with the amount above that with the EDC funds is a reasonable request. And I'm not, turn your attention to the drawing I think I left up there. Just as a reference, the 30 by 30 meeting rooms are approximately the size of this room minus where you're sitting up there. All this area out here is about 30 by 30. And the entry area is about 30 by 95 feet, just for reference. Other than the rock wall, we did not try to plan a specific spot for each possible activity but instead tried to provide as many square feet as we could so the person you hire to run it can organize it as he and she sees best. The success of the project will depend on finding the right person to plan and organize its activities. One room might be for the youth activities, the other for adult activities, the lobby area for other activities. The two multi-sport courts will provide ample room for those that want to walk for exercise, and the special time could be designated just for that purpose. We are also providing 3,989 square feet above the multi-purpose rooms and restrooms for future activities. The stairs and the floor structure are part of this construction. I respectfully ask the council to reconsider their vote on this recreation center and remember they were elected to represent their entire ward and what the majority want. However, it's a sad day in Dalhart when a councilman sees the need to publicly take a pot shot at Gene and I and my integrity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Troy?
Mayor, council members, thank you. My main thing is, last time, obviously, I was on council and was not here at the meeting, out of town at work when it came up again. Personally, I had never been against the rec center. I was against how it was handled, and I was against on the council and the city not ever being fully aware of what's going on. Here we sit again, and there's still so much confusion on it because nobody's going to the public and they're just getting surprised by stuff going on the agenda again to council. And you got half the people out there on one side and half on the other, and just stand in that line, you can hear the 13 different stories of what's going on. And we're going to continue to be in this problem until I feel that everybody comes together, the council starts get more involved with it and starts communicating them more to the public. Because right now, like I say, there's so many different stories out there. And right now, how it sits, you got two options. One, you're going to get a rec center built that half the community ain't going to want to support because they're so upset with it, which is going to make the city have trouble funding it. Or two, you're going to have Mr. Rawl and Mrs. Rawl pull out the money and not have a rec center, which some of the community obviously wants. I just asked the council that even when I sat up there, nobody ever wanted to discuss it. Everybody was on their own side of the fence with it, but nobody ever wanted to discuss it. And here we sit again with everybody split, and you got half the community out there on one side, half the other on the other side, and a million different stories. So I would just ask that the councils get more involved and communicate with each other. That way it can go to the public and we can stop all the different stories. That's all I have.
Troy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Kyle is not here, so.
I was not here. Chris Bell?
Chris Bell. Chris Bell.
And
Sheila Yee. Sheila Yee.
Chris, you've sat up here before, you know the rules, 3 minutes, we can't act on anything, but we want to hear what you said.
Thank you. My name's Chris Bell. I want to start this evening with saying thank you guys for being here and doing your jobs. It's a thankless job. You're going to vote against each other. You're going to vote with each other. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for the city, the citizens, taxpayers. There's a lot of things that you have to weigh and consider, but the least of which should be whether you're friends when you're done voting. That as a community, we need to come together. We shouldn't be terribly divided, arguing, bickering. We vote, we see things differently. That's what makes it America. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their vote. I still got 2.5 minutes. In all honesty, we have a great community. People want to do good things for us. We need to be sure that we're doing what's best with taxpayer money moving forwards. Just please do what you know more than we do. Make sure you have all the information available to you, and that you weigh your votes and do what's best for us. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, we appreciate it.
Do I stay, leave? Am I escorted out?
There's room for a couple more, and then we're gonna have to start moving some out as we bring more in. I believe, is that, or is that just?
David Hutchison.
Yeah,
I've already spoken.
okay, Sheila?
Every speaker's on Zoom, so
Yeah.
if you leave, you can get on Zoom on the website and watch it.
Sheila, you've heard this before.
I kind of sort of have, and I really debated on this. First of all, I want to address these two incredible people right here, and I mean it with all my heart. We have never been against this center. You guys have been very generous, and we are very grateful for that. And I want that to be known. Second, on that note, I want to say, when you vote for something originally, and then you get more information on something, there's nothing wrong with voting against something else. We never voted against the rec center. And first of all, I will commend you for that did stand up for what you thought was right. And I'm sorry to me that you are being demonized, is a good word I want to use right now, or put out there on a pedestal that you did something wrong, because none of you did anything wrong. You stood for what you thought was right. You voted the way you thought was right. And I commend you for doing that. That's what you were appointed to do in this office. It is not to be a yes man. It is not to be what everybody else thinks you should do. You look at the facts, you do your research, and then you vote accordingly, whatever that is. And so I do commend you. And I commend all of you, not just the ones that voted no. The ones that voted yes, you have a right for voting yes as well. You have your reasons. But I will go back to this, and I'm going to be very careful in what I say. But I agree, let's get all the facts out there, okay? I'm not going to go into any facts right now, but there have been way too many hidden agendas, I feel, behind this that have not been clear to this council. That's been very unfair for them, and that needs to be known. Again, these guys were not hired up here, or elected, I'm sorry. They were not elected up here just to say yes when y'all bring something to them. They were elected to do the research, and doing the research, finding stuff that they felt that was not right, asking the questions. That's what you're supposed to do. So bottom line is, those that voted against it did not vote against this rec center. They voted against the facts that was supposed to be presented as a gift. I commend you for that. And I say, keep doing your job. And thank y'all again.
Sheila, thank you very much.
Kevin, Mr. Hutchison.
David Hutchison?
Kevin,
David, they may have told you. Go ahead. We're on Zoom camera, and so everyone else can hear you.
Okay.
And you have 3 minutes. We can't act or do anything about what you speak, but we can listen to what you have to say, sir.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, I won't take 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Dave Hutchison. I'm a U.S. history and government teacher at the high school, and I work with the students. I'm working with the soccer kids, actually. And I know that this rec center first proposal is not just exclusive to soccer. It's the second proposal that's being brought up. But I was here last October, and my impression was that you guys were going to support it somehow. I'm not sure exactly all that's going on, but when you make a decision on the economics of it, I understand that. And I'm very conservative myself. I always try to figure out ways to do that. That I understand. But I just want you to know how important this will be for a lot of kids. And I think you probably already know it, but I just want to re-emphasize it. I would have quit soccer a long time ago with the kids, except I can't because they won't let me. And so it's that type of situation, and hopefully someone will take it this year and I can back off. But I want to commend you. I know that you're in a position of getting criticized for whatever you do, and that's okay. You'll be able to handle it. And I think that we ought to appreciate Mr. Rawls' gift and in some way figure out a way to support him with some money. And I think that would be a good decision. I want to thank you guys for listening to me and hope I didn't bore you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Kevin?
Since this mask fogs me up so much, I won't be able to read. I'm gonna take it off if that's okay. I'm here this evening to express my support for the Recreation Center proposed by Mr. and Mrs. Jean Rawl, and to ask the City Council to reconsider approving additional funding from the Economic Development Corporation. Mr. and Mrs. Rawl have presented the community with a unique opportunity to fund a facility that will not only enhance the quality of life in Dalhart, but provide a year-round place for both youth and adult recreation activities. Without their financial commitment, I doubt a project such as this could ever come to fruition in our town. I think it would be safe to say we're all interested in providing as much as we can to offer our citizens, young and old alike, opportunities that this facility would create. Some of you ran for your elected seat on this council with that goal as part of your platform. The goal of searching for ways to create things to do and activities to be involved in, particularly for our youth. Mr. Rawl did not enter into this project without much research and investigation into similar facilities. He has spent many hours trying to find the things that would work in this facility and has held public meetings to get input from our citizens. I'm here this evening to implore this council to reconsider the funding request from the Economic Development Corporation to fund the overage of this $5 million project up to $750,000. Keep in mind, this is a project approved by state law to be funded from EDC dollars, and we are fortunate to have the funding available. $750,000 represents only 13% of the entire project, a very small amount in relation to the asset the city will receive. And these dollars did not come from property taxes. I ask you, as elected officials, to see this project as a win for our community. Cost is practically nothing for us. Future operating and maintenance cost of this facility can be paid out of economic development dollars as well. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity and one that most small communities would die for. So the decision rests in your hands. If this proposal is left to die, then we will have forfeited a great opportunity to give our community just what we have all sought after, the answer to the comments so often heard. Well, there's just nothing to do in Dalhart. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Kevin, thank you very much. Jay?
First of all, I want to thank you all for doing what you do and up here listening to all our comments, and we're here for the betterment of Dalhart. First of all, I'd like to address, we've been through several projects in this city, and I was fortunate to serve on the EDC in the past, and with the Coliseum project, the swimming pool, the baseball fields, and those have been very successful projects. And a lot of them were, especially the Coliseum, didn't feel like it was needed. That things rented out, 260 days a year. With the funds that we have today as this gift, I think it's just critical that we go forward with this project. And just like Kevin said, with the EDC money, the EDC money is for the betterment of the community. I don't see any other ideas out there what we can do, and also the hours they put into this just to get it to where it is today. But we're trying to, we have a $5 million kicker in this thing. And just like Kevin said, 13% of this would be EDC money. And I'd like to see us go forward with passing that. But anyhow, that's all I really have at this time. And I think it's a wonderful gift. And I've been here my whole life, and I can see some other facilities we have here. The Allen Finch is almost past its useful life. And when we don't have that, then we're going to have 100% tax money trying to build something else. And we aren't going to maybe have this $5 million opportunity. So anyhow, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Melissa?
I'm Melissa Ritchie, and I teach high school here. I've taught for over 20 years. I've taught over 2,000 children that have come through our community. And one of the things that they have always said is that they would like to have more activities to do here. And I agree. I grew up here as a child. Our roots are deep here. We've been here since the early 1900s. And I agree that we need some more activities for the children. We need good facilities for all children. And I'm here to support that, and I'm here to represent the kids. The kids will be ones that ultimately, if there is money coming down from the future that comes from the general fund, they will be the ones that pay for that. And the kids have voiced that they do want this recreation center. And so I would like to see that that happens for them. It won't benefit me directly. I've raised my children. They're older now, and it wasn't there for me, but you know, you do some things for the future, and I would like to see that happen for our community. And that's really all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Can I take this off? Thanks. I would like to start by saying thank you to all of you who sit on the council. Being the spouse of a council member, I understand more than most what this job entails. I've been on the receiving end of phone calls that think that as city council members, you are responsible for everything from the neighbor's barking dog to the potholes in the streets. I'm grateful for the time, effort, and commitment you continue to make to our community. I'm sad this recreation center has turned into a controversial issue. I know you all have found yourself in the middle of this storm. Something that started out so positively now seems and appears to be shrouded in confusion and mistrust. I've seen firsthand the lives that have dramatically been impacted by the Rawls' last gift to our community. Hundreds of students' lives have been positively altered by the gift of education provided by the Rawls. I believe the gift of the Recreation Center for our community could also prove to be a great asset as well. As Melissa said, our kids are grown. It wouldn't directly impact us as it will our younger families, but we know that it will impact families' lives. I know you cannot act on a request tonight, but I'd like to propose a couple of different options to be considered. First, could we call for bids on the building as it is proposed? For all we know, due to the COVID situation, it may come in at or under the original amount. Perhaps builders who have had a reduction in work due to the times we live in may be more interested in negotiating as opposed to not have the opportunity at all. Second, could we all go back to the drawing table and look at other options, perhaps reduce the size of the building or make some alterations? Do we have to walk away from it all? Can't we come up with a win-win? Third, no matter what the outcome, let's look at the long-term effect of how we all proceed in this matter. This situation has garnered the attention of not just our community, but surrounding communities as well. We have both young and old watching our actions closely. 10 years from now, how will this be remembered? Will there be ugly, bitter words, lies, and poor behavior, or will we all agree to disagree, leaving the dignity of our community intact? We live in a world that continues to grow darker. Will we add to that or give hope to those who are watching intently? We all will be impacted by the decision made regarding this matter, no matter what the outcome. Please, let's proceed with caution, kindness, and integrity. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Scott?
Good evening. I'm here in support of asking you to reconsider this issue on the center. I've got a fair amount of experience in both community development and in trying to improve the lives of people around in different areas. Now, frankly, a good deal of that is in Amarillo and not here. But I can tell you that there are very few communities who wouldn't just die to have this opportunity. And yes, it could cost a little money to get it, but it's $5 million ahead. I think it's an extremely generous gift. I've watched what's happened with the other things that have been donated to this community. The airport was donated to this community. The hospital was donated to this community. The junior college was donated to this community. A good deal of the high school was paid for by people outside this community. And all of those things have been things that have been very, very beneficial, that have long-lasting life, that are going to be here long after y'all are sitting there or I'm sitting here. I can tell you that from my
perspective as an employer in the community, it is really difficult to get people to come here. And it's difficult to get people to come here because they say there's nothing to do. Now, frankly, if you had this people would still say there's nothing to do. So, but it is a step in the right direction. I think that it's not in the school, it's outside the school. It'll get activity that won't happen in the school. We've got a whole population that really deserves the opportunity to have something to do in their spare time, in the evenings, in the mornings, whatever. If this is run correctly, it can be, I think it will be good for older people. It'll be good for younger people. It'll definitely be good for this community. And the only thing that I would disagree with, I heard Eileen say a moment ago, maybe people will be more eager to bring the price down. And I'm involved in a deal in Amarillo now that the price has gone up about 20% in the last 3 months. So the longer you wait on this, the more it's going to cost. So if up to $750,000 is a problem, if you wait 60 days on this, it's going to be a bigger problem. So I just would encourage you to put it back on the vote. I have some confidence in the Economic Development Group. They're not a bunch of dummies. They know that this will help bring activity to this community, whether it's tournaments or whether it is just people who are here locally using it, and it'll bring dollars. And there are other communities that are spending a lot of dollars to try to do what we're able to do here for almost free. So I just would encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dyke. Send up.
Good evening. I would like to first say thank you to Jean and Louise for all that they do for our community. I would like to thank all of you for sitting in the position that you do. I know it's not an easy job. I purchased a building downtown in August of 2018 and made major renovations. During the time we were doing those renovations, we asked for someone from the city to come and look at the drainage on our street and to look at our sidewalks. We have bolts sticking up, we have holes in our sidewalk, we have all those things. I've asked several times about the EDC and did not realize they had such a surplus of money. I don't think the rec center is a bad idea. When I first went to work at First National Bank, we worked really hard to get the Dalhart Area Child Care Center. I was on the founding organization that got that started as far as a parent committee. I think that if we use the EDC funds, we need to also let some of the other people in our community have some of those funds also to fix our road, our drainage issue on 4th Street and our sidewalks, so that people going from the handicap parking space over by the 4-H center going to Dr. Alver's office across the street don't trip and fall over the bolt or fall in a hole or have other issues. So I know you guys all have a tough decision to make. I think that if you could educate our community a little bit better about how it's going to be run and who's in charge and where all their funds or tax dollars are going to be spent, that would help people support it a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ball?
Good evening. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak to you guys. My name is Jared Ball. I've lived in Dalhart for about 14 years. I'm a business owner here in the community, and I talk to business owners daily. And one of the biggest complaints is finding qualified people. And we constantly have young people leaving this community versus coming in. And one of the reasons is because there's nothing to do. What do our young children do? People come to visit. They're looking at homes. We have, this town has been wonderful to live in for my family, but my family was established when I came here. I've got employees that don't have established families, and their complaint, what do? They go to Amarillo. I think one of the big problems is the information on this project has not been shared. There's nothing but rumors from tax dollars are going up, to, well, we can't have tournaments in this gym because there's no seating, to just lots of misinformation. And so it just creates this back and forth. And instead of just laying out the plan so that we can all see it, what it's going to cost, where the money's coming from. And it's my belief that this will be a revenue, this will bring revenue to the community. It'll give another reason for people to come here. Sorry, I don't do this very often, but I wish that you guys would reconsider this. When you have a generous donation of $5 million, you figure out a way to make it work. You don't walk away from it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Lloyd.
So did I see anything like do this while I'm talking?
Yeah.
My name is Jeff Lloyd, and I'm actually here to talk about the raises that the councilmen are going to ask for after this meeting. So James, you need to get ready. There are going to be some requests. No, I'm here to just talk about this opportunity. He stole some of my thunder. You know, this community's been pretty fortunate. We've received some good gifts over the years, some really nice ones. The lake comes to mind. Airport comes to mind. Those were given to us by governmental entities. Cleo Jenkins, DeJarnett, those aren't as sizable as what this gift is. To go back to a private citizen to give this kind of dollars, you probably got to go back to the Kuhn family, which I believe was 1930-ish, somewhere in there. So that's 90 years ago. So this is an opportunity that does not come around very often. If this 5 million walks out that door, it's not coming back anytime soon. There's not a lot of people lining up, knocking on City Hall, going, hey, James, I want to write you a $5 million check. So I know there's a way to make this thing work. And I know if you guys will work together, ask the questions you need to ask, work together as a group that Dalhart's been really, really good at doing for a long, long time. I know you can come up with a way to do something really cool for the city of Dalhart. And so I just encourage you to do that. I encourage you to reconsider this. And who knows, you know, maybe it may change a few kids' lives. And that's not all bad. So thank you for serving and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. David?
Good evening. My name's David Watts. Actually, I'm not a real get involved in these kind of things, but I was actually listening to the responses and the communication, and I attended one of the past council meetings that they discussed this issue, and I just wanted to take just a few minutes just to say that there's a reason that we elect our representation to the city council. And I just wanted to show my appreciation to those on both sides, even those that threw a red flag up and those that brought this stuff to us as citizens of the concerns, because that's the reason that the city council is on this board, to bring those to our attention. Because we're not always in these meetings, we're not always involved in those decisions. I had heard the projects, the college project mentioned, I heard the hospital mentioned in some of the speaking. All of those projects, I felt like I had a voice. This one, I was a little confused until I attended one of the meetings, until I started listening. And so I just want to say, you know, thank you to those that did bring these concerns up and did start discussing this. It gave us all an opportunity to stand here, and even gave me the opportunity to come here and share that. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lola?
Well, I'm not much of a speaker, so this is going to be short, but I do want to say thank you to Jean and Louise. This is a great opportunity for us. I don't think that there's anybody that's saying, no, we don't want the rec center. I think the whole issue has become up between the economic development funds. And for me, it's a gift. And then it's going to turn back over to the city. And I think those funds are probably going to have to help run that. So that's my concern about it. I don't like the point of it being said that, oh, here's our gift, but if we don't get the 750, we may pull our funds. I don't think that's set well with a lot of people. I'm glad you guys voted the way you needed to vote. I don't want y'all to feel that it was wrong either way. You have a right to vote the way you voted. And for me, I'm not sure that those funds should be used for this project. We have an industrial park that was still sitting out there that was turned over to EDC, that nothing's ever been done with that. So, and there's different things around town to bring businesses in, not to take away from the rec center. It's a great gift. It is, and I am very thankful for it. But we also need to consider what the EDC funds and not be pressured to say the project's going to go away if we don't get this. So that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Laura. Bobby?
Good evening. My name's Kobe Cummings. I'm a lifetime resident of Dalhart. I have been in the real estate business here for 25 years. Second generation of that, our company's been in business here for almost 45 years. So we get to see a lot of comments from new residents, people come to town, people who are new to town that, you know, as you stay in touch with them, after they get settled here for a while, they, you know, just in casual conversation, they make comments to the guy that sold them the property about what there is to do here, what there's not to do here, what they're encouraged about as far as living here, and what they're disappointed about after getting here. And as many people have made comments before tonight, the limitation on things to do. That's a pretty general comment, but we've all heard that multiple times. I guess I look at this project from a standpoint of growth is costly. And the generosity of the Rawls with the $5 million gift, pretty much unprecedented and unheard of. And so while we're $5 million ahead with the project that can fill a gap for the community, fill a gap that's what's needed here, I think for the city council to reconsider that decision as far as being willing to put in the $750,000 backstop if needed, given we're capped at that level. That's not to say that we're going to spend that much money, but I think it would be a wise thing to do to agree to spend up to that much money if necessary. In the fact that this does not come out of the residents' property taxes, this comes out of other sources. We're not digging into people's back pockets. And the money is replenished. With the EDC, it's my understanding, I haven't done the homework myself, but in talking to EDC members outside, it's my understanding that the EDC generates about $600,000 a year. In 1.25 years, assuming that you spend the whole $750,000, that's replenished in 15 months. That's not a very big sacrifice for us to make as a community for those, and I realize there's other things to spend money on, but for this kind of a project to go forward and the money to be back in the coffers within 15 months, assuming that those revenues stay about the same, I think is definitely worthwhile. Obviously, only certain projects qualify for EDC money. This is one of them. So for somebody to come in and say, well, let's get the Rawls to donate somewhere else to some other idea, well, that's not a guarantee that that project would qualify. And so I just think that I think it's something we should do. And I realize it costs money, but I think it's money well spent. So while their generosity is appreciated, I think we need to take them up on their offer. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Robert? No? No comment. No comment. Okay. So is that it? Anyone else? I have no one else. Gene is last, but is there anyone else? I've got a list here. So,
Anybody else outside?
No. Good, okay.
Are you gonna talk, Gene?
Yeah.
Everybody else done?
Everybody else is done, Mr. Ross?
We've heard a lot of opinions here tonight. And nobody can help it because this is a terrible way to run this type of thing. You can't help it. It's because we couldn't get one room. Should have had one room where everybody heard what everybody else said. You know, nobody knows what that last person said except you. And you're not the ones we're trying to convince tonight. I think everybody up there has made up their mind what they're going to do. And I think, you know, Louise said, if you say what you're thinking, don't come home. This is an opportunity that many towns around would die for. In looking into this thing, I researched 22 towns in Texas, Oklahoma, and Colorado. I spoke to 5. There isn't a town of 8,000 people anywhere that I talk to or look for that have anything close to that. Not even close to it. And every one of them that I looked at was paid with tax dollars. Not generosity, not EDC funds that come out of, don't come out of anybody's pocket that way. Whatever you spend, certainly. The 1/2 cent that goes to this thing, as somebody just said, 600 and some thousand a year. We've got 2 million. We've heard 2 or 3 people opposed say, there's lots of things in town we could do with it. You tell me what they are that are better than this. And I want them to tell me. And why don't they say it? And why don't they come to it? I realize the EDC answers to the council. They really should. That EDC is comprised of 8 people, all good business people, knowledgeable people that pay lots of taxes and spend a lot of money in town and have been in business for a long time. I sat up there where you are for 16 years. There's another 8, and there's 10. 28 years of never, ever seen the council override the EDC. Never. That's what you appoint the board for. If you don't want them in there, then get somebody else.
Gene, we're 3 minutes. I'm sorry.
All right, my 3 minutes is up.
Yes, sir.
All I got to say is, better think about it because you never get an opportunity like this. And when somebody said, I wouldn't give 1 dime to it, and sits up there and makes decisions, or somebody says, no, you're not going to throw basketballs at me when you don't play basketball when you're running. I'm disgusted.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comment, Gene.
Take the toys and go home. Come on, Lee. I realize this is a poor way to have to do it with this situation today. Thank you all. What do you tell me?
Ms. Rawls, we appreciate your time too. Thank you. Okay, that ends the public comments. We have some regular agenda items we need to deal with, and folks are welcome to stay as we deal with some regular agenda items. And then you will hear what we can try to do to solve this issue. Item number 2 is to discuss a plat on proposed subdivision of 32.728 acre tract off of Spirit Trail before it is sent to the Planning and Zoning Commission for rezone.
I've got another map in there if you need to. I share with you.
Now, this is a discussion for this.
And the reason I'm bringing this to you now is because once you take, the new law is once you take a plat to planning and zoning, if you don't act on it within 30 days, it becomes automatic.
Right. This was has everybody, John is the only one that hasn't been, since we started talking about finding a real inexpensive way to do some housing, right? Okay, all right. If you look at this design, this is a plan that the engineers put together using some city property. It provides, if you understand the zoning, we have R1, R2, and R3. R3 zoning is it's tiered like this, the tightest, biggest lots. And then R2 and then R3. Would that be a fair way to put that?
Yeah, R3 is the lowest.
And so
R1 is the highest.
R1 is the highest, but the R1 is the most restrictive, and it just comes down now. These are the smallest lots that the city of Dalhart allows.
They're in the middle. They're actually in the middle.
Okay, all right.
So they would be actually more like R2.
Are they close to R2?
They're closer to R2.
Are we gonna ask for zoning R2 or R3?
We can ask for whatever we want to. And the dimensions don't exist as the area.
There's enough square feet.
Yes.
Okay. So R2, R3. I was.
And there's only 2 commercial lots on that, and Mr. Grisham used our extra regulations to put into this.
Okay. So the challenge was for us to come up with some property, because none of the developers wanted to develop smaller properties. They wanted to develop the large R1s and things like that. So we asked the engineers to look at a piece of property that we have. This is next to that property that we used to do the apartment complex, and create some kind of a housing development. And then we will decide what those restrictions are on that housing development, how the houses will be built.
All of that will be, this is the easy part, and that's the hard part.
But that's number 2 part of that plan is.
Yeah, the actual design and implementation, water, sewer, and all of those things is pretty easy part. The only restriction as far as that is you cannot sell these at a loss.
Well, yeah, the taxpayer does not have a loss. That's correct.
On EDC, you can expend funds for affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Okay.
Yes, that's the way it's working. Greg and I, we thought 8 different cities are doing this, some of them local, doing the same thing because they can't get housing developments.
So this is the development of the housing, and then we'll discuss how that housing will be allocated and so.
Yeah, whatever y'all decide, like I said, this is just the plat.
Okay, perfect.
Everything else, y'all will have to figure out how y'all want to do those in the future.
Okay. So this, since our engineer drew it up, it meets all of our requirements as far as the zone goes. It has the correct curving, the number of lights, the turnarounds, access, fire trucks, trash, sewer, water, garbage. Okay. And what you're wanting us to do is to discuss it and ask, are we ready to?
Y'all review it, and if you don't like how it's laid out, whatever, we can get back to Grisham and have it changed.
Since this is the first time some of the council members are seeing it,
yes.
Can we table it for
Oh,
now?
no. It's just here for y'all.
We don't
to
have to
review.
act on it tonight.
I'm not gonna send it to planning and zoning until y'all say.
Until we say go.
It's okay.
And then my understanding, what you said is after 30 days, it becomes, if we don't.
If it goes to planning and zoning.
Okay, all right.
You don't act upon it, then it automatically becomes approved.
Okay, so y'all understand that? Okay. So right now, we're just gonna set this on the table and let it, we've got plenty of copies if you wanna take one home with you.
Yeah, normally a developer would take it to planning and zoning first, but since
yeah.
it's our property.
Since we're kind of the
I'm bringing it
developer right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it to you, y'all decide. y'all directed me several months ago to
Yeah.
do this.
Find a way to do this. And we discussed some stuff with the school board the same way. So.
All underground electrical,
Do what?
all underground electrical.
None of that is, this is
Been
just a
decided.
plat.
Okay.
There's nothing to do with that. Only thing, like I said, is just the plat.
Just the plat.
Once the plat is approved, we can decide what else we want to do and decide the rules and regulations that we will have for this property.
Because I'm not sure if that's in XL Energy's district or Rita Blanca's, and Rita Blanca does not do underground.
107 residential lots, 2 commercial.
133 residential and 2 commercial. It's stated on there somewhere.
There it is.
Very top.
Yeah.
There's a big letter.
It's to the left. You must sit on the school board. You're looking for fine print. You went right past the big print. I'm gonna recommend that y'all just take this home and look at it. This is not an action item. We've been here a while. Some people may have other things they need to do. Yeah.
You got enough for all of it? Yeah.
I know I do not.
We
Do
can
not
get
have
you
enough
more.
for everybody.
We can get more. That's not a problem. So.
I'll have to work on it.
Yeah, but
Even if you email me.
I don't have email. I don't have a digital copy, or I would already send it to you.
Okay.
we'll find a way. I'll find a way.
Oh, he'll send me, I'm
James
sure
and I'll
he'll
find a
send
way
me
to make sure. if
a
you want
digital
one-
version of it.
Yeah, if you want one, let us know and we'll get it done. Okay?
Before make a motion, we table item number 2.
Okay. All right. Item number 3, airport rehabilitation grant.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry. No, we don't vote on it. It's not action. We're just discussing. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We'll vote for the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good.
A couple of y'all know about this. A couple of y'all know about this. Brent and I sit through a meeting with TxDOT on Monday. They're actually having, they're actually gonna have a meeting Thursday to approve, when we did budget last year, we allocated $23,000 for the design for the first part of this grant. Well, through this CARES grant program, we're actually gonna get that paid for as well. So anything that'll be above $230,000 on design, we'll have to pay 10% of it. But as you'll see, the amount, it has drastically changed. When we first looked at this, they were only allocating about $2.2 million to the airport. And the scope of the project has changed dramatically as well. And I actually got surprised. Oh, yeah, I need that one. I actually got surprised because part of the apron is actually gonna be in this as well, around where the fuel cell is at. That was added after, we actually called and had them come back to look at that, because when I talked to the engineers and told them, I said, it's not enough money to do what we need to do out here. And, the cracks out here are huge. And they came back and actually moved us up on the list. And as you see, the scope of the project is going to be $5.955 million. And so the second phase of the grant, which will be, and I did ask also, it will be after May, before any construction would be done. So the air show would be fine as well. But the second phase of this grant would be $5,725,000. instead of 2.2.
Now, this doesn't have a resolution number on it, on the agenda,
No.
but I do have the number here. Okay.
Yeah, because see, I didn't have the meeting
Right,
until
yeah.
Monday.
Is it,
It's just a
this
resolution.
grant covers,
We budgeted
Wow.
$23,000 already.
yeah, so,
Before. They need that for 30 people.
your opinion, this is a good deal? Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it costing us anything,
Is what it was.
this airport project?
Not right now.
Okay. Will it cost us
We're not even paying the match now.
Okay.
The grants cost us
Time and,
10% match
Yeah.
on anything above it. So
okay.
if it goes above 5.7 million, then we pay 10%.
Only if it goes above.
No, no, ours,
We're 10%,
the grant pays for all the engineering
Okay,
up to, and then the second phase of the grant, we pay 10% of it.
okay, all right, so we pay 10%.
We have to budget at 10% for next year.
And that's, we budget quite a bit in the airport every year. And then
So we're gonna,
set it back, so.
we're gonna potentially be 595,500
Matching funds.
matching funds in order
That
to
was
get
there,
close to
both funds,
$6
yeah.
million worth of work.
It hasn't been done since 2000.
And this includes the aprons,
Aprons,
okay,
the taxi,
and the taxiways,
the
and
blue-
the hangars.
the blue part, you see on the map, is aprons.
Okay,
That's the only part of the concrete that they're gonna actually include.
How about the north end?
Now, outside the scope. They'll just do the others. We improved ours ourselves, so if we want to improve that one, we'll have to do it.
So what do you need from us? Is this an
Just to
action?
approve the resolution on the 22,000,
This
because
is
the
the
CARES
resolution.
grant, even though we budgeted it already, the CARES grant's gonna pay for the $23,000 that we budget.
There's plenty in our budget.
Uh,
There's plenty in our budget. to
Oh, yeah.
Cover all this.
Yeah, we actually approved the 23,000.
Last year, when we first started talking about the
Yeah.
grant.
To get the CARES
Every year we
grant.
apply.
Yeah.
The CARES grant will pay that 23,000 this year. So we won't have any expense for the
And no
engineering.
budget.
That's good part.
That wouldn't have been a budget amendment.
I'm just saying, yeah.
So we get 23,000.
I would make a motion that we would approve that.
Second. Do you need that terminology read into it or?
No, just the resolution.
2020
Just a resolution.
-07?
We have a motion made and seconded to approve resolution 2020-07, covering the application for and the spending of monies necessary for a grant to help prepare the airport. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that's unanimous. The third item on our agenda is comments from department heads and city manager, anything?
We had our first movie night in the park.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I felt like it was a pretty good success. We had about 30 people out there.
Okay.
It was pretty fun. We had one council member show up and enjoy it. The wind, the screen is gonna be a problem with the wind because it took 4 of us to just set it up, but we might be looking at building a wall out there that we can project off of to do that. So,
White.
White.
Dumas did one on their grain bin.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
We had a lot of people driving through, looking at it, so.
So I'm gonna take something on this situation. We have a lot of people that have spoke both directions, okay? We have a lot of people that say they didn't know, they don't understand, something isn't this, something isn't that. I want 2 people that voted against and 2 people that voted for, or would have voted for, to meet with me and decide, do we put this back on the agenda? How do we make this more transparent? I don't like to see, everybody says we want it, but nobody wants to say it's worth something. I want to get a couple of opinions from both sides, and I want to sit with them. That's less than a quorum. Yeah, that's less than a quorum. And I want to figure out what it will take to present to the council a item that we can all either say, yes, it's worth it, or no, it's not worth it. Because I think everybody here wants it. It's just everybody here sees different reasons for not wanting it. So I would like 2 people from each side. Okay. And do I have 2 from Brian and
Rusty.
Rusty?
Yes, me.
You down there? That's
Yes,
it.
sir, I'm down here.
I got preachers. Okay, that's right. Okay. All right. I would like to sit with you 4 and hammer out what these differences are. And I would also like to discuss, so I need you there, or Mr. Walker, one of you, okay, to explain to me why there are members in our community that are upset about not paying sales tax on materials used by the city to build something. And is that a workaround that we need to look at? I'm just curious. I want you to tell me, explain that part.
If you paid sales tax, you would just pay it right back to yourself. What's the purpose of
I'm not
that?
arguing that. I'm saying they argued that.
I'm just asking.
I'm gonna try to answer their question.
It's actually, you would send 6%
I know
to the
exactly what
state.
that is.
Yeah, they get a bigger
If Gene Roll
chunk of it.
were to build it himself, he would have paid sales tax on every bit of it.
Okay, all right.
And
So,
being that we set up the contract
Uh-huh.
to be a city project
Okay.
and to say,
and I
like we do all our
understand
grants
that.
and
But I
pass.
mean, if that's a
That's what it
legitimate
is.
concern, we need to look and see what that concern is. I think that there were a number of concerns. A lot of it was just communication and transparency. I mean, and I can sit here all day and tell you if they would just come to meetings and listen. But a lot of that transparency has to do with some concerns that I think we need to sit down and look at. I would like to see what those are. I would like to put them all on that table and discuss them. And then decide, is it worth it or not? Okay? And if it's not worth it, we stop. But this is dividing the council. This is causing a problem within our city management, within our people, requesting minutes, requesting this, making everyone unsure of what's going on. I want to stop it. And the only way to stop it is for me to have people in the room on both sides of the fence and figure out what we need to do to make it work or decide not to make it work. Okay? So we'll get together. I'll try to set up a time and we'll get together. James, if you want to do
Works
it,
for me,
that's
because
fine.
like I said, I'm getting attacked on both
I
sides. so it
know,
doesn't
and
matter.
I'm sorry, because you are, but that's kind of your job. Hi.
Yep.
So, but I will tell you that I need to put a stop to it. I get phone calls and people jump on me from one side, and I get phone calls, people jump on me from the other. I also wish, and sometimes I can't answer that question, especially when we have public hearings like this, or public comments. And that is, you can't pave streets with EDC funds. You can't, the EDC funds are highly limited as to what you can and can't do. You can't just spend the money because it's there. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think we should be paving roads and building drainage things.
Well, we actually just turned one down from the hospital.
Yeah, that's, I
That
know.
doesn't fit in the
Same
scope.
reason it didn't fit. So I'm just saying, I want to get you guys together. I want to hammer this out. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of too many things going on and getting too many phone calls from too many people, and none of them knows the complete answer. Everybody thinks that somebody's mad at somebody else, and this is not mad at anybody. This is let's solve the problem. And I need to solve the problem. And it's my job to get you all together, and as mayor, we'll either solve it or walk away from it, okay? I'll get with you on set up the time, and we'll all get together and fix it.
All right, if you don't mind, I'm leaving. I've got 9
Go.
minutes to be there.
No, okay. Let's do that.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right, cool.
You're just hungry. Come on.
Ah.
I'm supposed to be in there at 7 o'clock.
He goes to my
Yeah,
work.
you're gonna have
I
to
do.
take to the cowboy.
Yeah.
We gotta go see where
I'm giving them-